guys, so sorry about the bad lighting. I'm having to use desk lamps because I don't have white LEDs yet, but they should be coming soon. But this video is my 2016, well, it's titled My 2016, so I'm going to start from January and I'm going to go all the way down to December, well, to this month, and I'm going to talk about the ups, the downs, the bads, the goods, what I've accomplished, and everything like that. So in January, I started off the new year on New Year's Eve, going to New Year's Day with my best friends. We were at their house. We sat on their front porch till like 3:30 in the morning and just talked about what was good and what was bad about 2015, and that's that. But then previously, starting in I think September of 2015, I marched with Southern Pride Marching Band, and we did this thing called Be the Match. And Be the Match is where we do cheek swabs, top and bottom, and we are going into a system type thing, and it's for stem cells to save people with cancer and stuff. Well, they said you have like a 1 in 100,000 chance that you'll ever get picked. It'll probably be 30 years down the road, somebody has cancer and they're a match with you, and you probably done forgot about it happening. Well, we did the swipe in August. I got called in September saying that I was an actual match with somebody. And I had to do all these tests going over the next 4 months. And starting in January, well, January, me and my friends came back to school. And like a week early or a couple days early, and me and my friends were like, well, you know what? Let's take a day trip to Savannah. So we live in Statesboro, which is only 45 minutes away from Savannah. So it's not a big deal to go. But we started and we went down to Savannah. The next day I had to start my injections for Be the Match. And it's basically the same medicine that they give leukemia patients to build their stem cells. Well, January 22nd, 2016, I flew to Washington, D.C. This is my first time ever flying as well. I flew to Washington, D.C. and I donated stem cells in a hospital. What they did is they put a big IV in this arm and another IV in this arm, and they were pulling blood out of this arm and pumping it back in, but there was a big old machine right here that was centrifuging my my blood to get all my stem cells out. Well, after that I flew back and I went back to school. So that was the big highlight of January. Come February, nothing really happened in February. Nothing really happened. March, again, nothing. April was my dad's birthday, so I went and saw him. But other than that, there wasn't really anything that happened in April. I have a very boring life. May. So May, I finished my second semester of college, so my first year of college. And it was funny, one of my study nights on finals week, I went to my friend Katie's dorm. And we're sitting there, we're all stressed, we're all tired. And we were going to make coffee so that we could stay awake and keep studying for chemistry, because we were both kind of in the same chemistry. She was one above me, but we both studied the same thing. It's just hers was a little bit more in depth. And we were making coffee or whatever, and all of a sudden we're like, why did we not hear coffee? We kept hearing the dripping sound, but we didn't hear it like make anything. So I got up to make sure, and we forgot to put the coffee pot, like the actual pot, up under the thing, up under the coffee maker. So coffee was everywhere, the floors, the counters, everywhere. It was just terrible, and we laughed for a good 20 minutes. It was hilarious. But then I finished that and I went home, and I got my first real job. That's when I started working with Wendy's. It was in May. And then June, my birthday month, June wasn't really very eventful. We kind of just stayed at home, chilled out. My birthday, we had a few people come over. I can't remember what we made that night. It was either that or we went out to eat. I can't remember. But we just kind of chilled out of the house. And then it's June, right? Okay. July. July is where everything started going downhill in my life in 2016. July 3rd was a Sunday, and we, me and my mom and my brothers were going to church, and my stepdad said that, nah, he was good, he just didn't feel good, he was going to stay. Well, we got back from church, and this is where the day that I'll never forget, there was a letter on the table, and my stepdad left. He said that he just couldn't take it anymore financially or stuff like that. And so he left. He didn't talk to my mom, about anything like that. He just left. And that's where everything started going downhill. And it was rough. July was very, very rough. But in the month of July, I decided to transfer colleges. I now go to East Georgia State College. It's also in Statesboro, but it's partnered with Georgia Southern. And I said, well, you know what? Since I'm only doing my associates right now, I'm going to finish my bachelor's eventually. But right now, I just want to graduate my associates and then continue on at a different university. And so I transferred there this summer, and then I finalized everything for my apartment. And I got hired. Well, I transferred. My transfer was complete to the Wendy's here in Statesboro. And August, well, the end of July 29th through the 31st, I believe. The last 3 days, Mom helped my mom move. We moved from our house that was my mom's and my stepdad's marital house. That's the house they first got after they got married and stuff like that. I helped my mom move to a smaller house, and that's where they're currently living now. And then 2 weeks later, I moved to my apartment, and that's where I am right now. And I started school, so nothing really happened in August besides starting school and working and getting used to that. And September was my mom's birthday, so I went home for her birthday and surprised her. And on my mom's birthday, we went to a marching band competition because my middle brother, Caleb, he's in our high school marching band. So I marched with them, he marched with them, so my little brother started band too, and because we're all musically inclined. And so we started that. Then October, was when we had Hurricane Matthew. And if you don't know, Hurricane Matthew hit the coast of Georgia. And I live basically on the coast. I'm considered the coast because I'm so close to the coast. And I remember they kept saying we were going to have the hurricane. They started evacuating Savannah. They put a voluntary evacuation for my town, Statesboro. And I was like, well, I'm not leaving because I have to work. My work was not closing. Well, I was at work when the hurricane hit. And the power went out and came back on. And then it went out and it stayed out. Well, we have to stay for an hour. And so I live maybe a mile away from my work. So I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get home? So I drove very slowly in a hurricane with like 60-mile-per-hour winds. It was terrible. And I got there, my power was out in my apartment. And so my friend Katie was staying in her little's apartment because it was safer than where she was staying. She lives in Savannah. She goes to Georgia Southern University. And so she was driving back and forth, so she stayed there. And because it was safer away from Savannah. And she texted me asking me if I could come stay with her in our friend's apartment. I texted my friend who owns it, and they said, yeah, that's fine, go stay with them. So we sat there and just tried to chill out and waited through the hurricane. And the scariest thing I can remember was all of our apartments in our apartment complex have big sliding glass doors. And I remember sitting in the living room, and the windows, literally, the doors are like this. The doors were moving like this. It was so scary. The next day we woke up, and we just stressed, tired, worried. The sun was out. It was shining. But our town was destroyed. There was trees everywhere. The entire city was without power. And so we had to cook. I remember, this is the funniest thing, it was on my Snapchat. I put candles in a circle and put my beefaroni in the can on top of it and let it heat up that way. And I was just tired and stressed and worried because we had no power, nothing. And so I called my dad, because I went and sat out in my truck, plugged my phone in so it'll charge, and I called my dad. And I asked my dad, hey Dad, you live in Dublin, which is only like an hour away. I was like, would you mind if I come and stayed with you so that I can get a hot shower, have a real meal, a hot meal, and charge all my stuff? And he was like, yeah, come on, spend the night, stuff like that. So I was like, okay. So I went there and I came back. School was still canceled. It was just rough. November, nothing really happened in November. I remember, well, back to October real fast. I went to my first college party. It was a Halloween party, and I dressed up as Oh Dear God. I painted my face like a deer. If you've seen my hair, my vlogs, it's kind of long, so I had two like pigtail type things. They look like antlers. I spiked them up like antlers, and then I had a toga, and so I was like, oh dear God, get it? Ha, funny, punny. But November, nothing really happened in November either. And then this month, let's see, nothing important happened in December except Christmas. I drove home. I went to my dad's the 16th, the 17th, the 18th, and with that, we went to my grandma's, and so I was able to see her and stuff like that. And on our way back, we were coming through Atlanta, Georgia, and everybody knows where Atlanta is. But we were coming through Atlanta, and we were on an off ramp to go get food because we were hungry. It was like 8 o'clock at night. We're hungry, and so we were sitting at the red light, and this person hits us and the rear ends us, and it shook us all. We were all scared. We just didn't. It just came out of nowhere, and so we were like, oh my God, like what are we gonna do? Fix that. My brother and my stepbrother, they're both 9, so they're really young. They were sitting in the very back of our van, and so we called paramedics to come make sure that they were okay, and because they were in the very back, and we ended up going to Applebee's. But then the next weekend was Christmas, and I went home for Christmas. I went home the day before Christmas, and we just kind of sat around the house and just chill out. Christmas Eve, we went to my mom's best friend's house, and we had just dinner and just chilled out with everyone. It was good to catch up with everyone, and we played a couple Christmas games, and we played we did a White Elephant Christmas, and that's where we exchanged everybody's Christmas gifts that were personal Christmas gifts after everybody left. And then the next day was Christmas Day, and we went to church. And then we went to my aunt's house in Dublin, so we drove an hour south, and we went there, and that was fun. It was interesting. I hadn't seen a lot of people together at one time. And then after that, the day after Christmas, I came home. But the day after Christmas, we had to go to the hospital. Nobody was admitted, but it was my mom's cousin. She was having heart problems, and they sent like a catheter down her throat, her esophagus, to check her heart and stuff like that. And when they did that, when they pulled the probe back up, it tore a hole in her esophagus, and so she couldn't drink or eat. I think she went home from the hospital. I'm not sure, but after that, I went home, and so far all I've done is worked, and that's really it. All I've done is like worked and just chilled out. And then today is December 30th. Sorry for the pause here. I accidentally messed up when I was editing, but the thing is I follow me. All my stuff is at the end of the video. Follow me, and I do Snapchat back, and I do follow back. So follow me on all my social medias, and I will see y'all in my next vlog.